station of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Arizona.
It's baseball in the land of bratwurst. It reached a balmy 50 in Wisconsin today. That's tailgate weather here in Milwaukee, where the Brewers are enjoying an exceptional start. More wins than any team in baseball. But the D-backs may have the winning recipe tonight in Josh Colmenter, who has been outstanding in his career against Milwaukee. Good evening from Miller Park. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthume and Bob Brenly along the way. This is the Diamondbacks and the Milwaukee Brewers, the second of a three-game series. And Josh Colmenter tonight will try and do, Bob, what the Diamondbacks couldn't do last night, and that's get Carlos Gomez out.
Wow, what a night for Carlos Gomez. He's been doing it to a lot of teams. The Diamondbacks shouldn't feel like the Lone Ranger. Last night, Gomez, a single, drove in a couple of runs, a homer to lead off the ball game. He walked 3 times, drove in 3, scored 2, and unfortunately that's kind of been a problem for the Diamondbacks pitching staff this year, finding a way to contain those leadoff hitters, Gomez included.
Yeah, they had a pretty good run against Charlie Blackmon with the Rockies, Denorfia, and San Diego, but this is a trend that needs to be addressed.
No question about it. Getting on base way too often. Nearly half of their at-bats, the leadoff man is reaching. They're usually very fast. They're called the table setters for a reason. They set it up for those guys in the middle.
Well, Carlos Gomez on base in every plate appearance in the series opener last night. We can say the same for Aaron Hill, who has a great track record against the Brewers.
Yeah, Aaron Hill has a tremendous track record against the Brewers, and that continued last night. A .421 average in 14 games going back to the beginning of the 2012 season. This is a ballpark a lot of guys like to hit in, and the Brewers staff in the past has been a staff a lot of guys like to face. So Aaron Hill has really feasted on Brewers pitching.
Middle game of a 3-game set tonight. Josh Colmenter for the Diamondbacks and Marco Estrada for the Milwaukee Brewers. When we come back, Jody Jackson joins us. The latest on a busy day for the D-backs in the transactions column. A couple of new faces here on the pitching staff of the big leagues. Details coming up. You're watching the Arizona Diamondbacks only here on Fox Sports Arizona. More from Milwaukee after this. Baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by CenturyLink, your link to what's next, and by Jack in the Box. If the D-backs hit a home run today, score a free Jumbo Jack tomorrow with a purchase of a large drink.
And welcome back to Milwaukee. Miller Park, still a bit chilly here in Milwaukee, but springtime is on the way. Brewers best in baseball with a record of 22-11. Diamondbacks trying to get back on the winning track after losing their last 2 games. Jody Jackson with you. And then we know injuries have hurt the Arizona Diamondbacks of late. They've had to rely on some rookies with Mark Trumbo, Patrick Corbin, David Hernandez placed on the DL just in the last couple of months. Well, there have been some more moves with the addition of J.J. Putz to the disabled list, placed on the 15-day DL today with tightness in the right forearm. He's scheduled to have an MRI today. Mike Bolsinger has been optioned to Reno, and these moves bring up the chance for a couple of young pitchers. 24-year-old Evan Marshall, right-handed reliever. In Reno, he gave up just 1 earned run in 16 2/3 innings pitched. He will be available for, again, 1 inning, and you look at Evan Marshall in possibly the 6th or 7th inning, according to Kevin Towers. Chase Anderson has been a starter in Mobile, 26 years old, 4-2 record with an ERA of .69. Now, KT also tells me that Anderson is a candidate to start on Sunday or possibly Tuesday. It just depends on how the next couple of nights go. He's available as the long man out of the bullpen should they need to go to him. Josh Coleman getting the start tonight, Bronson Arroyo tomorrow. They'll see what they need out of him and where he might start later on in the week. Well, they're looking certainly for Josh Coleman to go deep in the game here tonight against the Brewers, and a matchup of right-handed pitchers, Josh Colemunter and Marco Estrada. First pitch comes your way next here on Fox Sports Arizona.
And a happy birthday to Gerardo Parra, who is 27 years old today and leading it off for the Diamondbacks in the middle of this 3-game series at Miller Park.
Shares a birthday with the Astros second baseman Jose Altuve, fine broadcaster for the Philadelphia Phillies Larry Anderson, and Hall of Famer Willie Mays.
Pretty good. You have the same birthday as Willie Mays. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
And he's got a bobblehead day coming up at Chase Field on May 17th. Tickets at dbacks.com. Diamondback batting order tonight, and A.J. Pollock is back in there, I see.
Yeah, birthday boy at the top, followed by Chris Owings, Paul Goldschmidt, Miguel Montero rolling over his last 9 games. Aaron Hill, red hot at the plate, will follow Montero. Martin Prado will be at third base. A.J. Pollock back in the lineup in left field. Good to see that. Ender Inciarte in center field, and Josh Colemunter on the mound.
They will face your Arizona fourth starting pitcher, Marco Estrada, 30-year-old right-hander out of Sonora, Mexico. His seventh start this year, and he has pitched pretty well. 2-1, an ERA just over 3, but he is vulnerable to the home run ball. He's given up 7 homers in less than 38 innings of work. And on his 27th birthday, Gerardo Parra leads it off for the D-backs.
That's a fastball from Estrada at 88. Not overpowering by any stretch of the imagination. His best pitch by far is a straight changeup. He throws it about 30% of the time. It's his out pitch. He also mixes in an occasional curveball.
He's behind 2-0 on Parra, who was on base 3 times last night. He singled, doubled, and was hit by a pitch on that right foot. He scored twice, and he appears to be okay considering how much he was hobbling around after he was hit by that pitch last night. Laces that into right. Parra's aboard with a leadoff single, just like last night. So happy birthday to me.
Gives himself a present with a leadoff single into right field. Take a look at this.
Milwaukee looks as such. They got Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate. Haven't seen that yet in this series after Maldonado started last night. Logan Schaefer is the new right fielder after Caleb Gindel was out there. Of course, Valley product Chris Davis back in left.
Yeah, former D-back Lyle Overbay at first base.
So Parra aboard. Here's Chris Owings getting his first career start, batting second in the order.
It's going to be interesting as we move forward with this Diamondbacks team where Chris Owings settles in that lineup, if he settles. Kirk Gibson every day just trying to look for the right combination of guys that are swinging the bat well, try to bunch them together and turn it into some big innings, and I think Chris Owings is going to be a big part of that.
Well, Chris is striking out a little more than 19% of the time this year. That's up just a tick from his big league stint last season, but given his aggressive nature up there and his ability to drive the ball, it might be a pretty good fit in the 2-hole here. We shall see. He was 0 for 3 with a walk last night. Parra holds it first. Owings swing and a miss. It's 1-2. Glenn Sherlock at third. .65 degrees inside Miller Park at first pitch. It is 44 outside. And Estrada gets the strikeout, 1 away.
While we have a moment, let's take a look at our Valley Honda keys to the game. Marco Estrada on the mound. You have to let the pitch get there. He throws that change up a lot. You have to be aware that he'll use it in any count to any hitter. Let the ball get to you, and no dealing off the bottom of the deck by the Brewers. Diamondbacks are very fortunate in this series to miss Giovanni Gallardo and Kyle Loesch. They're facing the 3, 4, 5 starters in the Milwaukee rotation. Have to take advantage of that.
Well, the Brewers are 4-2 when Marco Estrada starts for them this year. Here's Paul Goldschmidt. And Estrada usually wins by keeping Milwaukee in the game, gives them a chance to win. He's got 5 quality starts this year, all over his last 5 outings.
Probably could have had 6 in 6 starts. His first start of the season against the Red Sox, he went 5 2/3, only allowed 1 earned run. All he needed was a third of an inning to get another quality start to start the season.
The 0-1. Close, but safe, says crew chief Larry Vanover. Going to need another former Diamondback to play first base tomorrow. We've seen Reynolds and now Overbay over there for Milwaukee.
Maybe they'll activate Craig Counsell for one day.
Nucci Varner. Council's busy up there, wheeling and dealing on the cell phone and the whole thing.
I had a chance to talk to him a little bit before the ball game today. He really enjoys his gig here with the Brewers. Of course, his father worked for the Milwaukee Brewers for a long time when Craig was a little kid growing up in Whitefish Bay, and has kind of followed in Dad's footsteps. Maybe a little further up the ladder, but still working for the Brewers.
Estrada misses there, and it's 2 balls and a strike to Goldie. Estrada last season voted Brewers Pitcher of the Month for both August and September. In fact, over his last 15 starts dating back to last year, he's gone 5-1 with an ERA right at 2.5. He's pitched well. They got him that
time. Kirk Gibson's going to come out and have a word with Larry Vanover. Look how quick Estrada's feet are. Gets himself into a throwing position. He may have a legitimate argument right there.
They're also going to, well, he checks with Parra first and then goes to Vanover and gives Alan Campbell, the D-backs video coordinator, a chance to look at the video. Gibby's out there smiling. This is not exactly an argument.
You know, that's one thing that replay has pretty much eliminated. The veins popping out in the neck and spit flying arguments that you used to see between managers and umpires are pretty much a thing of the past.
Here's the signal from Alan Trammell. And they will take a look. Alan Campbell, the video coordinator, looks at the replay behind the dugout. Then he calls the dugout to Alan Trammell, and Trammell signals yes or no, challenge or not, and this one they think is close enough to take a look.
I think they're right. Nice job by Parra to go to the very back part of the base there at first base. He didn't move initially to dive back to the bag, I think is why Larry Vanover called him out, but it looked like Lyle Overbay didn't get the tag back on Parra before his hand was on the base.
Here's the thing now. Win or lose, you are risking your challenge 3 batters into the ball game.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he hit the ground first.
Kind of a mixed reaction from the crowd here at Miller Park. I think some feel that Parra was out, and a lot of people saw it the way I did. It looked like he got his hand back on the corner of the base before the tag.
Crew chief is always involved in this procedure, and Vanover, coincidentally, not ironically, is the first base umpire, so he's over there with Adrian Johnson at third. Johnson talks to the press people here at Miller Park, and Vanover is on the headset to New York. Yeah, it's quiet here in Miller Park as they show the replay on the big board. I think Brewer fans fear the worst here, which would be great news for the D-backs. And it looks like this process is over, and he is safe. So Kirk Gibson wins his challenge and retains that challenge, perhaps more importantly. All smiles in the dugout is Gibby, and Parra is safe at first.
Well, hopefully that'll be a warning shot across the bow there for the rest of the Diamondbacks runners today. Marco Estrada with a good pickoff move, very quick feet out there on the mound. That was the 4th challenge of the year for Kirk Gibson. Been successful twice.
2-1 to Goldie. Estrada misses, and it's 3 balls and a strike. Looks like they changed the challenge signal from thumbs up to tip of the cap. That's some advanced scouting that we've done for you.
Not sure why you would have to change those signs, but
Goldie hits that well, drives it to left field, and that ball is gone. Paul Goldschmidt, his 6th, and it's a good thing Gibby won that challenge because that's a 2-run homer, and it's 2-0 D-backs. So the challenge pays off for Kirk Gibson.
Wow. He clubbed that one. Line drive home run. Easily cleared the fence out there and left.
This is Goldie's 8th game in this park. He's now got 3 homers.
That looked to be a changeup that Estrada left up and out over the plate, and Goldie got out there and hooked it to left field. In a minute. Boom.
That was a rocket. Miguel Montero. And that's another big win for the advocates of expanded replay. I mean, that keeps that runner on base at first and makes it a 2-run homer instead of a solo shot. Another example of how the process is working.
And another example of how frequently the umpires miss calls.
Come on, man.
I'm sorry. They're the best in all of professional sports.
You just got a run. We got you a run there.
Best in all of professional sports, and they still miss a lot of calls.
2-1. Can't you just let me enjoy the moment?
I thought the moment had passed.
I guess so. 3-1. Montero on base twice last night, had a walk and an RBI single. He swings through that, and it's full 3-2.
I mean, I guess when you figure up the percentage of all calls that have been overturned this year, it's still a very, very small number. But there have been 102 overturned.
Lifted in the air to center. Carlos Gomez, easy play. He always catches it in that throwing position, even when there's no one on base. He is ready to go. Become kind of a trademark for him in center field. Brings up the red-hot Aaron Hill. He continues as one of the most productive bats in this D-backs lineup. He reached base at all 5 plate appearances last night. First pitch swinging. Right back to Gomez. And again, he's under it. Poised and ready. Estrada is out of the first, but Kirk Gibson challenges an out call at first, gets the call overturned, and turns that into a 2-run homer. Pace here in Miller Park, Milwaukee. He came into the ball game a .444 career hitter here, and now in 8 games in this ballpark, he's got 10 RBIs, 5 doubles, and 3 home runs. And he's given the Diamondbacks a 2-0 lead against Milwaukee. Ron Renick's team coming in holding a 5-game lead atop the NL Central. They are 5 up on St. Louis, 6 games ahead of Cincinnati, 22-11 on the season, the best record in the major leagues.
And do we have to tell you to watch out for the first pitch of the ball game to Carlos Gomez at the top of the order? He led off the game with a homer against Mike Bolsinger last night. He'll be followed by Scooter Gennett. Jonathan Lucroy, good numbers against the Diamondbacks going back to the 2012 season. Ramos Ramirez at third, Lyle Overbay at first, Chris Davis out in left field, Gene Segura at shortstop, Logan Schaefer out in right field, and Marco Estrada on the mound for the Brewers.
And Josh Kohlmetzer starts off with a strike on Carlos Gomez, who was on base every time he was up last night. Josh Kohlmetzer is our Arizona Ford starting pitcher, his 9th appearance of the season, his 5th start. A no decision his last time out. That was Wednesday against the Rockies at Chase Field. He went 7 innings, gave up 4 runs on 7 hits, including a pair of home runs.
And for the first time as a member of the rotation, Josh Comenter was able to get his pitch count up to an even 100. I don't think that's even an issue with Josh. He's a guy that can go as deep into the ball game as he's pitching effectively.
2-2. Gomez heating up. He's homered 3 times in his last 7 games. Close, but no cigar. It's full. There's the strikeout. Good start for Comenter. Gomez tried to backleg that one, but it's 1 up and 1 down.
This is not your prototypical 2-strike cut down and put the ball in play swing.
You think?
He was trying to whirly-bird that pitch.
So here's Scooter Gennett back in the 2-hole after hitting 3rd in the lineup last night. He was on base twice with a walk and a double. Well, you said at the top of the show, Bob, you got to address this lingering issue with a leadoff man, and that's a good start. And Comenter jumps ahead of Gennett 0-1. Hard to right, base hit.
Look at that strikeout on Phantom Cam. Just underneath that pitch. Big swing, and then the collapse down onto the back knee as he goes down to the dirt.
Gomez strikes out. Gennett singles. Here's the catcher, Jonathan Lucroy. Had the night off last night. Takes the ball 1-0. Good start to the season for Lucroy, hitting .312 and getting on base at a .380 clip.
Lucroy's a real good handler of the bat. He's not your prototypical number 3 hitter. He's not a guy that's going to hit a lot of home runs. He's more of a gap-to-gap line drive hitter, but in the past, Ron Renicky has used him to play hit and run.
There's a strike, 1-1. Lucroy has hit safely in 5 of his last 6 and has been a thorn in the D-back side here in his career. .323.
It's important Josh Comenter shows that curveball early in the game. That one bounced in the dirt that time to Lucroy, but just to let them know that he's got a 3rd pitch in his arsenal. Pitching out of the bullpen, we're used to seeing Josh come in and throw fastballs and changeups and be very effective doing that, but as a starter, it helps just to show them a 3rd pitch.
Well, Josh says that the Brewers are usually a very aggressive team up there offensively, and he thinks that plays right into what he does well, which is add and subtract with his pitches and mix up location. That's out of play. And Comenter says the key is getting the Brewers to swing at more pitcher pitches than hitter pitches, especially when he's ahead in the count. What does that mean exactly?
Well, ideally, a pitcher's pitch obviously is one that's either on the corner, in or out, or top of the zone, bottom of the zone. The one's around the edge of the strike zone. Kind of like the crust on a pizza. You want to stay out of the middle if you're the pitcher.
Boy, you really stick with what works, don't you? 2-2.
And of course, a hitter's pitch is right in the middle of the pizza. You know, one of those ones, like, nice melted cheese, and sauce, and toppings. Take a big bite of it. That's what hitters will do if you make those mistakes in the middle of the plate.
Right now, some guys watching the game going, "Hey, honey, what do you think about pizza tonight?"
Yeah.
At Papa John's. 2-2. This is there, and it's full. So Colementor was full on Gomez, got the strikeout. Now 3-2 on Lucroy. That was a good example of someone not swinging at a pitcher pitch. And that's one reason why Lucroy, a catcher's up there with a .380 on base percentage. Jeanette running on the pitch. Check swing. The throw to second is not in time. That's ball 4. So no stolen base. Diamondbacks not taking any chances as Lucroy draws the walk.
Well, speaking of pizza, fans know this. When the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every D-backs win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code DBACKS50 at papajohns.com.
Well, the Diamondbacks stake to a 2-0 lead on a 2-run homer by Paul Goldschmidt, and now the Brewers, with 1 out in the home half, are threatening. They have 2 on for Aramis Ramirez. First pitch is in the air, shallow right center. Gerardo Parra calls off Ender Inciarte, and that's out number 2. So Ramirez's slump extends. He's 3 for 43.
And continues to swing at that first offering. That's been his MO throughout his career, especially with runners in scoring position. He's going to be very aggressive. He's going to attack that first delivery, and he does so here. Pops it into right field for an easy out.
2 down, 2 on. Former D-back Lyle Overbeck. 236 on the year, a homer and 7 RBIs. He has just 3 extra base hits all season. And he sends that first pitch swinging into center. Here comes Jeanette. The throw from Inciarte is well over Montero's head and to the backstop. Inciarte likes to call his throwing arm El Cañon, but he misfired on that one, and a run comes in.
Well, a cannonball is not the most accurate projectile there is. Typical Lyle Overbay at bat, just hit the ball hard somewhere. He found that hole in the shift on the left side of the infield, and a very Puig-like throw to the plate. Josh Colementor was kind of halfway between third and home, waiting to see where Inciarte's throw was going to go, and just couldn't get there quickly enough to back it up. Both runners advance.
A run is in, second and third, 2 outs for Chris Davis. Chris at 233 and 4 homers. He was hitless last night, but did drive in a run with a sac fly in the 5th. And a good RBI chance for him right here.
Well, it's not exactly the same way it happened last night, but Diamondbacks took an early lead in the first, and then Gomez hit the first pitch he saw in the bottom of the inning to tie it up immediately. Hopefully the D-backs will be able to sneak out of this first inning without giving another one up.
There is no error, by the way, charged on that last play. He scored a single, advancing to second on the throw. 1-1. On the ground is short. Chris Owings. Goldie can't make the backhand scoop, and the run scores. The game is tied.
rains, it pours. Routine ground ball to Chris Owings, just spikes his throw in the dirt. The normally very sure-handed Paul Goldschmidt just can't come up with that pick of that low throw.
And the inning will continue in what is now a 2-2 game. They're on the corners with 2 outs. And the hitter will be the shortstop, Gene Segura.
The Diamondbacks have gone 8 straight games without allowing an unearned run. They made errors in some of those ball games, but the runners that reached base did not come around to score.
Strike 1 to Segura, who had a pair of hits last night, including a long home run in the 6th inning, his 2nd of the year.
Keep an eye on Miguel Montero. No runner at second base right now, and going through a series of signs. That tells me that they think either the Brewers base coaches or somebody is relaying signs to the hitter.
Base hit. Overbay scores. Milwaukee takes a 3-2 lead. RBI single for Gene Segura. So 3 singles and a walk. Throwing an error, and it's been a rough first for Josh Colmenter. O's for Overbay in the dugout.
It's hard not to be happy for any success that Lyle Overbay has in his career. You just wish it didn't come at the expense of the Diamondbacks in this series, but he's one of those guys. You'd love to have him on your team. Great teammate, willing to help the young guys, understands his role with the ball club, and can still swing that bat.
So still 2 on with 2 out. 8th man to hit in the inning for Milwaukee. It's the right fielder, Logan Schaefer. This is very uncharacteristic of Josh Colmenter when he's in there against Milwaukee. Colmenter, of course, won Game 3 against the Brewers in the 2011 National League Division Series. He was outstanding, 7 innings of 2-hit ball. And there are the numbers. Look at that, 2-0 with a .67 ERA in 4 starts. 22 innings in his career versus the Brewers. He had given up only 3 runs. Davis is the runner at second. Segura at first. 1-2.
This kind of game, hopefully somebody from the Diamondbacks, when the team gets back into that third base dugout, will say something to the effect of, hey, if they want to slug, we'll slug. Sometimes you have to win games like that. Sometimes you have to score 8 or 9 or 10 runs to win a ball game. Josh Colmenter uncharacteristically giving it up here in the first inning. Offense needs to bail him out.
Check swing into the seats. No, it was Paul Goldschmidt who took advantage and provided some offense for the Diamondbacks at the top of this inning with a 2-run homer, his 6th of the year. But the Brewers have answered with 3 in the home half and threatening more. One and 2. Right field for Parra. Backing up, still backing up, but it's over his head. Davis will score. They will send Segura. Here's the relay. There is no throw, and the Brewers tack on 2 more. It's 5-2. That just carried and carried right over Parra's head.
Watching the way he started after that ball, I thought Gerardo Parra had a bead on it. Very off-balance swing that time by Schaefer. Reaches out and hooks a pitch that's away from him, but must have had a lot of backspin on that ball because it just continued to carry. Hits off the warning track out there in right field. By the time Parra is able to track it down and get it back in, 2 more Brewers across the plate.
And now the 9th man to hit in the inning is the pitcher, Marco Estrada. 3 singles, a double, a walk, and a key error have led to 5 Milwaukee runs. And Colementor is behind on the pitcher, 2-0. His 30th pitch of the inning coming up. 2-2.
Boy, for us personally, partner, this is a key at bat in the ball game right here. Got to retire Estrada. If not, it messes up your scorecard.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, you got to roll over and start crossing out all the numbers for the rest of the ball game.
Well, our highly unreliable staff member was looking at new pencils today at the office supply store. In the air down the right field line. We'll see if Goldschmidt has room. He got it. Paul Goldschmidt ends the Brewer first and saves Bob Brenly's scorecard. The Gold Glover near the seats in foul territory, but the Brewers get 5 runs on 4 hits, and after 1, D-backs are down 5-2. Baseball is finally here. It's happening all around us, so go grab a Pepsi and some friends and get out to a D-backs game and live it. It's time to live for now. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Arizona Diamondbacks. We back the D-backs. Well, a rough first inning for Josh Colementor and the D-backs. They get spotted a 2-0 lead by Paul Goldschmidt, his 6th home run of the year. And then it leads to 4 unearned runs. There was the overthrow by Inciarte in center field, allowing some runners to advance. The error by Chris Owings really turned out to be a big one on what was a routine ground ball. And so it's 5 Milwaukee runs on 4 hits, a walk, and an error. And it's 5-2 as we start the second with Martin Prado against Marco Estrada. Prado 250 on the year and 10 RBIs. 1 for 5 with a single last night. And he is yet to homer this year in 132 at bats. He's got only 7 extra base hits. Strike 1. And if you watch Martin Prado this spring, there was no hitter in baseball who was driving the ball better than Martin Prado. It was rocket after rocket off his bat. And it hasn't yet translated into the regular season. He's striking out at a rate that is more than twice what it was last year. And is tonight hitting 6th. 1-2.
You know, we've talked a lot lately, partner, about framing pitches behind the plate, making those borderline pitches look better. Jonathan Lucroy is one of the best in the game.
Chopped to short. Keen Segura makes a backhand stop and throws him out. Yeah, I'm a big Lucroy fan, and maybe because he plays in Milwaukee and they've had a tough couple of years here, but you just don't hear a lot about him.
Solid offensive player behind the plate. It's kind of hard to explain, but he gives a very small target, which is kind of the opposite of what you would think. You'd want the catcher to give a big target back there to the pitcher, but he gets really small. I think it helps the Brewers pitchers really be fine with their pitches.
All right, now
Look how small he gets.
Yeah, what is? Oh, he just kind of crouches back there. He almost gets behind his shin guards.
Yeah, he gets his two knees together and really gets small back there. And I think this is just my own opinion, but I think that helps the Brewers pitchers be a little fine, especially when they're pitching to the corners.
Good to have A.J. Pollock back out there tonight after missing 5 straight games with a groin injury. 5 games out of the starting lineup anyway. A.J. first began feeling tightness in his groin last week in a series against the Rockies at Chase Field, and that was right after he missed some time with a neck strain. But he drives that to the gap in left center field, and it bounces off the base of the wall. And A.J. Pollock, welcome back to the starting lineup. He's got his 7th double. His bat has really been heating up. The injuries could not have come at a worse time for A.J. because he has really swung the bat well lately.
Picked up right where he left off before that groin injury. Gets an outer third fastball, barrels it up to that gap in left center. The ball short hopped the fence out there in deep left center field.
So a 1-out double brings up Ender Inciarte. And they think with A.J. having the strained groin, there'll be less running involved if he's in left field instead of center. So it's Pollock in left tonight and Inciarte in center field.
We saw Estrada with his quick feet on that pickoff attempt of Gerardo Parra at first base in the first inning. I would assume his feet are just as quick at second base. That time Gene Segura tried to sneak in behind Pollock.
Ball 1 to Inciarte, 0 for 4 last night. And 2 for 16 to begin his big league career. One of several players the Diamondbacks have seen over the last week come up from their minor league system. Inciarte, Alfredo Marte, Evan Marshall today, Chase Anderson on his way up from Mobile. Grounded to short. Segura, a little bobble there. Inciarte with good speed, but he's out, 2 down.
We saw that happen to Segura a couple times last night as well. Just didn't field it cleanly, but has enough arm and enough presence to get it across the diamond quickly to get the speedy Inciarte.
How about the play by Lyle Overbay over there? Keep that toe on the bag. Josh Colmenter. Takes a strike. Marco Estrada has faced the D-backs 3 times previously in his career, but never as a starting pitcher. 3 relief appearances against Arizona. 4 1/3 hitless innings with 8 strikeouts. Two and 1. His last appearance was a start at Cincinnati on Thursday of last week. Went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, 6 hits, and 2 homers. And got a no decision out of Mexico and Cal State Long Beach, a 6th round pick by the Nationals. And the Brewers picked him up on waivers just before the start of the 2010 season. He's now appeared in over 100 games for Milwaukee, so he's been a good pickup for them, both in the rotation and the bullpen. 3-1 to Colementer.
He's kind of their version of Josh Colementer,
Yeah.
a guy that you can throw out there in long relief, maybe match up late in the ball game. If you need somebody to slide into that rotation because of an injury or ineffectiveness, he's your guy.
This is his 59th start. He has pitched to an ERA just under 4, now in his 5th season with the Brewers. Ball strike 3. Second strikeout for Estrada, who strands the one-out double. Diamondbacks trail the Brewers 5-2.
Have winning records right now, and a lot of these kids have been exposed to what we do at the big league level and spring training. So to me, it's where you want to go. You want to be able to have good options down in the minor leagues when somebody goes on the disabled list, to be able to promote guys that are performing and people that you think might be a part of your future.
Our Geico quote of the game from General Manager Kevin Towers as we take a look in the bullpen tonight. Chase Anderson, Evan Marshall getting called up today. And Chase Anderson, a possibility to start either on Sunday or Tuesday. And that minor league depth is getting tested, certainly. We saw NC getting called up with the Trumbo injury, and now the latest injury to J.J. Putz, moving the pitching staff around, guys. And so it's going to be a big test for these young men.
Get them up here. Diamondbacks have a lot of talent at the lower levels. Got Chase Anderson on the left there and Evan Marshall on the right. Couple of Big 12 guys. Chase, Oklahoma Sooner, and Evan, a Kansas State Wildcat. And the numbers, especially for Chase Anderson in Mobile, he had been absolutely lights out as a starter so far.
And hopefully both those young men realize that what they were doing at the minor league level will play up here as well.
Carlos Gomez is looking for the home run on every pitch, apparently.
Well, there was a time in this game when if you swung that hard that you're falling on the ground trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, somebody buzz your tower. Yeah, push him off the plate. Too comfortable, way too comfortable.
2-2. Gomez struck out his first time. Came inside that time. Jandon fouled back. Well, Gomez has started all 33 games for Milwaukee, playing center field and batting leadoff, although he was suspended 3 games by MLB for that bench-clearing brawl the Brewers had at Pittsburgh April 20th. He's able to hold off there. Gomez is appealing. That case will get heard on Friday. Martin Maldonado, the Brewers' backup catcher, who we saw last night, has already served a suspension. He got 5 games. That was a ruckus they had at PNC Park. 3-2.
Ron Renicky gives Jonathan Lucroy the night off. Martin Maldonado hits a 2-run homer, walks. There's another base hit to go along with it.
Well, that time, see, this is a good example of what you were talking about. Gomez admired that one a little too much for Garrett Cole's liking. He ended up at third, just missing the home run, and they had some words, and then the bench is emptied, and this got ugly. And this is not the first time that Gomez has had such an incident with pitchers or other position players for that matter, as he takes the called strike 3, being upset with the way he admires a well-hit baseball. He'll have a seat. He's 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts tonight.
I got a feeling it's not going to change, and that's not the last time we're going to see Carlos Gomez involved in an incident like that.
I'm going to bet that you're right. That is his nature. But he's done a pretty good job of actually maturing. He's toned it way down from a few years ago. But it still will occasionally flare up. Scooter Gennett singled and scored his first time. See if Josh Colmenter can settle in here after a 31 pitch first. He strikes out Gomez and now is ahead on Gennett.
Gennett, a guy that's kind of the Brewers version of Chris Owings. I talked to Craig Counsell before the ball game, and they really liked his offense every year at the minor league level. They felt that he was going to be a good big league hitter. They had some questions about his defense. Sounds a lot like Chris Owings, but Gennett has settled in out there at second base. He's worked very hard. Craig Counsell worked with him in spring training on his pivot around the bag at second, how to get himself in a better throwing position before he catches the ball, and he's made great strides defensively.
He was a 16th round pick who just turned 24 and has really done a nice job working his way up through the Brewers minor league system. There's Craig Counsell.
The man in the shadows.
Only he knows. Jonathan Lucroy walked and scored his first time. And the Brewers front office, speaking of Craig Counsell and company, they were really smart with Lucroy. This guy is an excellent catcher. And they signed him to a contract in spring training 2 years ago, 5 years, $11 million. So they control Lucroy through at least 2017 at a very low number, considering how much he means to this ball club. He's 27. He'll turn 28 next month.
I mean, that's bargain basement for a catcher of Lucroy's quality, both offensively and defensively.
There is a club option for an additional year, and that's still very team friendly at $5.25 million. Another case of a team buying out some early service time to get the player at a lower number, but guaranteeing him some money in case the worst happens. Diamondbacks did the same thing with Paul Goldschmidt.
Of course, when I say bargain basement, that's just in reference to baseball money. That's not real money.
Context. From Eustis, Florida, played his collegiate baseball at Louisiana Lafayette. Brewers got him in the 3rd round of the '07 draft. He still has one of the great injuries of all time. I'm being facetious, of course, but he broke his right hand early in the season 2 years ago. His wife Sarah dropped a suitcase on his hand. They were in a hotel room in L.A. and Lucroy was reaching under the bed trying to find a sock, and his wife moved the suitcase. It fell on his right hand and it was broken.
Well, and once again, as a public service to all out there, never reach underneath a hotel bed. Go buy new socks.
Socks under there? Up. I have to buy some new ones.
Gone forever.
Funny thing was, that year he was really having a great year. He's only able to play 96 games, but still hit .320. This is in the air near the Milwaukee dugout. Goldie gives it a look, and he's done it again. That's twice in 2 innings. Paul Goldschmidt has ended the inning with a great catch along the railing. And CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Coming up in the 3rd, we'll see Goldie, who homered his first time up. Astros never stop improving player of the game, and Goldie never stops improving against the Brewers here at Miller Park. 8 games now. Pretty good. 3 homers, 5 doubles, and 10 RBIs.
I have a feeling when the schedule comes out in the offseason, Paul Goldschmidt immediately looks to see when do we go to Milwaukee.
It's funny because the ballparks here, Miller Park and Chase Field, are very similar. Obviously, they both have removable ceilings here, but similar dimensions and a very similar hitter's background as well.
The one difference is the roof at Chase Field is very quiet when it opens and closes. When they initially opened this roof, the first game we were here, and they actually opened the roof very early in the afternoon, it was metal on metal grinding. It was just a horrible sound. And they've remedied the problem since then, but that was a scary sound. Ooh.
Gerardo Parra, the birthday boy, 27 today, will lead off the third. He singled and scored his first time up. Was picked off first base. Kurt Gibson challenged the call. The call was overturned, so he stayed on first and was on when Goldie homered 2 batters later. Those are both Diamondback runs. They trail at 5-2. There's the strike, 0-1. So Gibby's success rate with the challenges is going up. Down the line at first, that's a fair ball. Overbay makes a nice backhand stop. Estrada covers. And that's the first out in the third. Well, he can still play some first base. Lyle Overbay at the age of 37.
He's always been very smooth. He's one of those guys that covers a lot more ground than you think. He just he gets to everything he needs to get to.
You see how far he plays off the line for Chris Owings. We talked about this in last night's broadcast. Something that Paul Goldschmidt does extremely well for the Diamondbacks at first base. I mean, Overbay is with a right-hand hitter up there, and Owings is well off the bag at first. Kirk Gibson always credits Lyle Overbay for helping Paul Goldschmidt learn how to play that far off the bag. And Goldie, of course, one of the best in the business.
Second time through the lineup here for Estrada. We're seeing him try to steal some strike ones with curveballs. Started Gerardo Parra with a curve, started Chris Owings with a curveball. It's a pitch he doesn't use a lot. He's more fastball changeup, a lot like Josh Colmenter, but second time through the lineup, giving the D-backs a little bit of a different look.
Can get to Marco Estrada as you go through the order. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Got him. Strikes out Owings for the second time tonight. 2 down.
And finishes Owings off in the same fashion he did back in that first inning after getting to the 2-strike count. An elevated fastball. This one on the inside part of the plate. And CO just couldn't hold up. Well, one thing about Estrada that really jumped out at me looking at his numbers before tonight against opposing number 3 and number 4 hitters in the lineup, which, you know, those are your best hitters. A combined 156 average with 0 home runs. Now, Goldie ruined that, but
to what would you attribute that? It's hard to really pinpoint.
I don't know, unless he just pitches them extremely carefully because he knows those are the best hitters in the opposing lineup, but incredible numbers. And he's one of those guys that has the reverse splits, especially this season. Righties are hitting 288 with an OPS over 800. Lefties hitting only 148 with an OPS just over 500. I think that gets back to that straight changeup. Very effective pitch that he uses more against lefties than righties.
2 balls and 1 strike to Paul Goldschmidt. A lot of swings and misses in the ball game so far. Check out the grip with Marco Estrada.
Looks like he's starting with just a 2-finger grip. Maybe switch to a curveball. Let's see. No, that's another heater.
And another called strike 3. 4 strikeouts for Estrada, who works a 1-2-3 third. Diamondbacks trailing in Milwaukee 5-2. Is back with a doubleheader as Buster Posey knows red-hot San Francisco Giants renew their rivalry with the ACL Puig and the Dodgers. And then it's the Indians and the Rays. The action starts at 12:30 Pacific on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Well, the Giants are rolling right now, baby. They've won, what, 6 in a row? 9 in a row. Starting to create some distance. Rockies right behind him. Dodgers in third right now. Must be in the front row. The new Bob Uecker statue in the very last row of section 422, right above us, actually, behind home plate.
Bob Uecker would appreciate the rabbit ears, I think.
A newly dedicated statue. There is another one of Ueck outside the ballpark as you walk in. But that one is the famous Bob Uecker seated actually right behind a beam. There's a big beam that you can't even see through, which is about 10 rows in front of the statue.
Kids.
Now you kids at home.
That's. Yeah, you may go for the rabbit ears, maybe not the nose picking.
It's all in the timing. The ball and a strike to Aramis Ramirez. The magic of television. See, there's the beam that's in front of the Uecker seat. And when you're in the Uecker seat, and we went up there yesterday, you can't see most of anything in the middle of the field. Jody was up there yesterday, and she was a little nicer. Three and one to Aramis Ramirez to open the third. Pops him up. Let's see if Miggy has room. It's out of play.
Well, thinking about that Uecker statue up there, if they really wanted to make it lifelike, they would have a Titleist baseball cap on with a pair of shades and a Bluetooth in one ear. That's the way you usually see Ueck.
He blew into the media lunchroom this afternoon with a camera crew behind him. Somebody's always filming him doing something.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fairly presidential. Big entrance. 3-2. Hits this one away from the right-hand shift. Little flare into right for Parra. Hey fans, it's that time again. Tweet us your photo using the hashtag AZFanPhoto for your chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T. I should have tweeted the picture I took of Leo Gilmartin, who was just sitting in that chair yesterday. Use the hashtag AZFanPhoto. AT&T. The O for Overbet. Singled and scored his first time up, had an RBI. First pitch swinging, that one sneaks through into right. Goldie decided to let Aaron Hill have a shot at it, trying to get back to the first base bag, but it snuck through between the two. And Overbase 2 for 2.
And I've seen two pitches in the ball game. The other one beat the shift to the left side of the infield. This time he rolls it through the right side. That's against what I remember of Lyle Overbay. He was always a very patient hitter, worked deep counts, wasn't afraid to hit with 2 strikes, but apparently got a couple of pitches to his liking because he's got 2 knocks already.
Well, he was 1 for his last 16 coming into the ball game, but 2 for 2 tonight. And the Brewers have a 1-out base runner for Chris Davis. Davis reached on that throwing error by Chris Owings and later scored his first time up. This was turned out to be a pretty big error for the D-backs.
Appeared to be a routine 3-hopper, just spiked that throw in the dirt across the diamond. The ball looked like it hit Goldie in the heel of the glove.
Segura followed with an RBI single. Schaefer a 2-run double. The 0-1. Chris Davis had a 3-for-6 day against the Pirates at PNC Park about 2 weeks ago. But since then he is hitting just 200. And the strikeouts are starting to pile up. One and two. But the power is there for Chris. This guy can swing it. He's got 3 homers in his last 12 games.
And because he does swing and miss so frequently, and Lyle Overbay does not run well at first base, I'm a little surprised Paul Goldschmidt is holding on Overbay over there. Could improve his range a little bit if he played right behind Lyle Overbay and then back off as the pitch is being delivered, but positioned right on that bag.
You see if Davis can just shoot it the other way, he'll have an easy single into right. The ball and 2 strikes. The tomahawk on the Phantom can. I always hate watching guys' elbows when we do this.
Oh, yeah. Looks like it should hurt, and probably does.
I mean, the human body, certainly the human arm, is not meant to do that. Although with Josh's tomahawk motion, he says he's never had any pain. Keeping a close eye on Lyle Overbay. It's first base at the age of 37. Two and two. Sixty pitches for Josh Coleman through 2 1/3. Keep in mind that both Randall Delgado and Trevor Cahill pitched last night, so the 2 long men are presumably out of action, so that might mean Chase Anderson. I'm not sure when the last time Chase pitched was. I have to check that for you. This is skied high into short right. Parra coming in. 2 down. There's Chase Anderson, just up from AA Mobile on the left. Evan Marshall just up from AAA Reno on the right. Marshall has been tremendous in the Aces bullpen. Chase Anderson has been dynamite in the Bay Bears rotation. And Marshall is definitely a reliever at the major league level. As far as Chase Anderson goes, that's still a matter of debate. And some of the thinking is his stuff might profile better in the bullpen, but he's less of an injury risk if he's in the rotation, not getting up and down all the time.
There's a real good possibility we'll see one of those gentlemen tonight, unless Josh Coleman can have some quick pitch innings moving forward here, already up over the 60 mark here in the 3rd.
Chase Anderson had a serious elbow injury in 2011, and so that's something that's still in the back of everyone's mind. 0-2 on Segura. Boy, Chase Anderson. I don't know how you pitch in 6 starts to a .69 ERA and lose twice. That's hard to do. 4-2 with a 0.69 ERA. Called strike 3. And Josh Coleman strands Overbay after the 1-out single. We are through 3. Diamondbacks down 5-2. Set for the fourth inning at Miller Park in Milwaukee, where the Diamondbacks are trailing the Brewers 5-2. D-backs got 2 in the top of the first on a Paul Goldschmidt homer. Milwaukee answered with 5 in the home half, as they got 4 hits, a walk, and an error against Josh Colmenter. And it's 5-2 as Montero steps in to lead off the fourth, 0-1. Miggy flying out his first time. Montero, Hill, Prado 4, 5, and 6. Miguel Montero has made great progress with his at-bats this season, and he has continued that progress to career levels. And certainly in terms of the strikeouts, they are plummeting for Miggy this year. This is a guy who struck out more than 23% of the time last season, which was very close to his strikeout rate from 2 years ago as well, but that is down to 10% this year, which is the lowest strikeout rate of his career by a landslide. Making much more contact this year and having really solid at-bats. 1-2. In the dirt, it's even.
I think it's pretty easy to figure out why. The change in his approach, got rid of all the tap dancing that he used to do in that left-handed batter's box, the weight shift forward and then backwards, and so many things to get the timing exactly perfect in order to get that bat where you wanted it.
It's just a striking contrast. You're striking out 23% of the time one year and then less than 10 the next. He has really worked at it. And he's worked a full count to lead off the fourth. He's rolled up the middle. 1 away. Segura play that one well on the second base side of the bag, coming over from shortstop. No TV tomorrow, off day on Thursday, so we're back with you on Fox Sports Arizona Friday for the series opener at the Cell in Chicago, right? Is that what the locals call it? U.S. Cellular Field?
U.S. Cellular Field, yeah. They encourage visiting broadcasters not to call it the Cell, but
I've already violated the rule. See, I'm not even there yet.
That's what White Sox fans call it, so it's good enough for me.
Now, are you a fan of U.S. Cellular Field? No. What was there, an incident? Or?
No. It's just one of those ballparks. I'm sure the White Sox fans love it. People on the south side of Chicago go out there to see their Sox play, but from our particular vantage point in the broadcast booth, there is absolutely zero overhang. So if it rains on the table.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
So it's coming into the booth.
Even if it's raining straight down, there doesn't have to be a wind to blow it into the booth.
This one coming straight down and into the Brewer dugout. It doesn't sound promising, frankly. You combine that with temperatures in the 40s. Yeah. Well, I remember when they first opened that ballpark, it was like a hospital. Because they kind of redid it, didn't they, after 2 or 3 years or so?
Well, and the upper deck is as steep as any mountain you will ever climb. It's scary for the fans coming down the aisle.
So we have that to look forward to over the weekend.
Well, I won't be in the upper deck, thank you very much.
2-1. That's on a play.
And my previous visits to the Cell were always as a member of the Cubs broadcast crew. And, Cubs Sox, I don't need to tell you what that rivalry is like. And
there's some animosity there.
Throw stuff at your car going in and out of the parking lot. They'd rock the team bus going in and out of the parking lot. It was not a fun experience.
Wow. 2-2.
Of course, that was back in the day when Michael Barrett was sucker punching A.J. Pierzynski and Carlos Zambrano was sucker punching Michael Barrett.
Yeah, the good old days.
It was crazy back in the day.
Well, that was the two teammates, right, in the clubhouse and up the tunnel. And
in the dugout initially, and then they took it up to the clubhouse for rounds 2, 3, and 4.
I heard that was a unanimous decision.
Oh, yeah.
Scooter Gennett has that one. Now 7 straight set down by Marco Estrada.
Hey fans, anytime the D-backs score 6 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
I wouldn't really relish the opportunity to fight Carlos Zambrano. That wouldn't go well for me.
I don't think that would go well for just about anybody.
He's a big dude. Strike one. Martin Prado grounded out his first time. Now a 2.48 on the year. Right to shortstop, Segura. 8 in a row set down by Marco Estrada, who has worked a 1-2-3 inning and back-to-back innings, and he leads at 5-2. Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. Miller Park in Milwaukee. 40 degrees outside, 65 indoors. And you can stay toasty warm by your computer and read FoxSportsArizona.com. You'll get reaction from the Diamondback clubhouse. The Cardinals perhaps looking to bolster the pass rush in this week's draft. And Arizona running back Kadeem Carey excited about his NFL future. All that more, FoxSportsArizona.com with the local coverage and the whole thing. Josh Colmenter out there for the home half of the fourth. He has done a good job recovering since that rocky first. He has given up just one base hit, the over-base single. He's got 2 strikeouts since the start of the second inning. And it'll work to Logan Schaefer to lead it off. Schaefer had a 2-run double his first time, part of that 5-run Brewer first. Schaefer just off the DL on Friday. He'd been out with a right hamstring strain that forced him to miss 14 games. It's that one well. Will it stay fair? Foul ball.
Well, the fact that Schaefer was willing to try to bunt for a base hit on that first pitch from Josh Colmenter tells me his hamstring's feeling pretty good. He runs really well.
From San Jose, went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, a 3rd-round pick by the Brewers in the 2008 draft. Although I think I just upset some people. Aren't you supposed to say San Luis Obispo? There's one of those is very right and the other is very wrong.
I'm not sure. Not sure. It's been kind of a sleeper baseball program over the years. I believe that's where Ozzie Smith went to school.
Cal Poly.
Mike Krukow.
2-2. Josh Colmenter, of course, from Central Michigan. A 15th round pick back in 2007. Out of Homer High School. 30 minutes from the Indiana border. How about Josh's pitching line from his last high school season? 18 wins, 13 shutouts, a .13 ERA.
Jeez.
Not bad. Off the fist. A little bleeder to third. Prado throws him out. Schaefer gets up the line pretty well. Hey fans, follow every D-backs game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. You'll get live look-ins, instant replay, score, stats, audio, a free MLB.tv game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit dbacks.com today.
Big first out of the inning there. It's always a key to get the leadoff man, especially when that leadoff man is the number 8 hitter in the lineup. Now Marco Estrada up there to swing away.
And swing away he does. Goldie in foul ground. 2 down. So Colmenter has now retired 9 of the last 10 he's faced. Settling in, and he'll work to Carlos Gomez, who has struck out twice and done so in dramatic fashion. Swinging for the downs on every pitch. Trying to back leg another one out of here like he did with Mike Bolsinger's first pitch last night. This one is hit weakly to third. Easy play for Prado. We are through 4. If you haven't heard the Wade Miley haunted hotel room ghost story, don't go anywhere. That's next.
Charming and historic Pfister Hotel, but it also has a reputation for being haunted, and some players are spooked by the Pfister. Wade Miley is one of them. In fact, Chris Owings, who was in an adjoining room to Wade, told me he had to have the lights on at bedtime, TV on, and Cliff Pennington and Chris Owings had to have their adjoining room doors open. So A.J. Pollock decided to play on Wade's fears last night, throwing Bluetooth speakers under Wade's bed as he was going to bed with the lights on, of course, and all of that. And he played creaking noises, laughing children, and footsteps from a YouTube video. And Wade was sent into a frenzy at this point. Wade told me he didn't want to talk about it, but he's thinking of staying at another hotel tonight. I'm trying to picture this, guys. It had to be hilarious, the scene on the floor of the Pfister last night.
That's ingenious, isn't it? Tremendous.
Well, you see a lot of that over the course of a long baseball season. If you have some kind of a weakness or fear, your teammates will take care of it.
No wonder he didn't want to talk about it. And here is the man behind the prank. A.J. Pollock leads off the 5th for the D-backs against Marco Estrada, who has retired the last 8 he's faced. Of course, the Pfister is a beautiful hotel right in downtown Milwaukee, not too far from the ballpark, about a 10-minute bus ride. But the stories of the Pfister are legendary.
Oh, yeah.
People have seen all kinds of things in there.
It's fabulous.
The fabulous Pfister, the Grand Hotel of the West, back in 1893 when it opened here in Milwaukee, the largest Victorian art collection of any hotel in the world. They have an artist in residence there, all kinds of great art, and it is rumored, we emphasize rumored, to be haunted. And I've heard a number of stories from players and ex-players about how some guys simply will not stay there.
Yeah, every team has a couple of guys that just refuse.
Now, You're in there. Have you seen? I mean, it's been quiet where I am. What about where you are? Anything?
I'll tell you, between the construction work going on at the hotel, the air conditioning noise, and the minibar refrigerator, you couldn't hear a ghost in the room. It's a very loud hotel.
It's lovely, though.
It's lovely.
It has a very 1920s kind of feel to it. The lobby's very ornate, and they play old-timey music, and you feel like you're, back in 1925.
They have updated some of the rooms in the old tower, or in the new tower, rather. We're in the new tower, believe it or not.
Now, there are some people that will not stay in the old portion because that's where supposedly
that's where the ghosts are.
Dave McKay, the first base coach, is one of those guys. He's not staying in the old tower. 1-2 to Pollock. Now, Josh Colmenter, who is a bit of a whack job, he actually requested to stay in the old park because he wanted to meet a ghost. So he's over there with the ghosts. That's the Fabulous Pfister.
Now that little round tower in the back is the new tower. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
The ghosts seem to like it.
Tremendous staff there. Very friendly people.
It's a great hotel. It really is. It's fun.
Good coffee shop down in the lobby.
Wow. But Wade Miley, not a big fan.
It's fabulous.
Because of the spelling and everything.
Yeah,
okay. A.J. Pollock making Marco Estrada work. That's low and in the dirt. It's 2-2. A.J. doubled his first time back in the lineup after missing 5 straight games out of the lineup with a groin injury. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up. A.J. out there in left field, as we mentioned, with Enciarte in center to try and cut down on his running on that groin, which still isn't quite 100%. And he has been out there in left before, not a whole lot. He played 7 games in left last season for the D-backs, including 3 starts. And he's worked at full 3-2. Good at bat here.
Good at bat. Love to get that leadoff runner on here, especially after a lengthy at bat. AJ's fouled off 5 pitches in this sequence, running the count to full.
All 4. A little more on the Fabulous Pfister and Wade Miley. Here's his apparently roommate, Chris Owings.
My room, Wade's room, and Pennington's room connects, and we've been leaving the doors open, and Wade was yelling at me last night. He's hearing some stuff in his room.
Did he actually record this?
He did record it. There's some little kids laughing and footsteps being heard, and some guys are getting pretty freaked out.
Do you believe in this?
I did not hear him, but I was next to him, and I heard him yelling at me.
That's great. I didn't see anything. It wasn't me. I mean, the wry smile on Theo's face tells you that he was in on it the whole time. Wade Miley still a little shaken up, apparently. Ender Enciarte. What was the worst prank ever pulled on you back in the day that you can say on television?
Man, I'd have to think about that.
One that you were perhaps involved in. You may have masterminded.
Well, one of my favorites, the simplicity is genius. Our trainer with the San Francisco Giants was a notorious practical joker, and Mike Krukow wanted to pay him back one time, so he took out an ad in the San Francisco Chronicle that said, wanted used golf and tennis balls. We'll pay $1 each, and put our trainer's home phone number.
A lot of calls. Enciarte with the bunt fielded by Estrada moves Pollock along, and there's 1 out.
Estrada kind of limping a little bit as he went into foul territory after tossing that ball onto Overbay at first base.
Well, he had set down 8 in a row before the leadoff walk to Pollock, and they'll come out and check on Marco Estrada. Let's take another look.
I'm not sure exactly when he felt the discomfort. It appears to be his right leg. Kind of landed awkwardly on his follow through that time and then had to quickly recover to get to that ball. Pretty nice play under the circumstances to get Inciarte at first base.
They ruled that a sacrifice for Inciarte, moving Pollock along, and Estrada's going to throw a pitch or two here to try and test this thing out.
Which brings to mind another Mike Krukow story. He was in the middle of everything. Similar thing happened. Krukow fielded a bunt, threw the guy out at first, but rolled his ankle a little bit. So the umpire said, "Do you want to throw a couple of warm-up pitches?" He says, "Yeah, maybe I better." And Jose Oquendo was the next scheduled hitter for the St. Louis Cardinals. So Krukow got up on the mound, took a full windup, and threw the ball at the top of the backstop, and said, "I'm okay." And I looked over at Jose Oquendo, and his eyes were as big as saucers. Isn't he going to throw another one? Of course, Krukow did it on purpose just to unsettle Jose Oquendo, but that was pretty quick thinking.
Well, Estrada is going to continue here. We'll one out and A.J. Pollock on second. He'll work to Josh Colmenter. Josh struck out looking his first time up.
No batting gloves for Josh.
He's old school up there. No sleeves, no gloves.
Probably left him in his room with the fister in case he has to wrestle a ghost.
I would think a pitcher would be a little worried about blisters. Pollock takes off for third, and he's in there. A.J. Pollock. That's his first stolen base of the year.
That groin's feeling pretty good. A.J. got a nice jump out there. Estrada is very deliberate to home plate, even though he has a good pickoff move. And that time A.J. just took advantage, went on first movement, had a little bit of momentum going that direction. And no chance for Lucroy.
It's a great sign for the D-backs to see A.J. Pollock running like that. Colmenter bounces that one up the middle, and that's going to get the run in. So the stolen base, a big play there for the D-backs, and it's a 5-3 ball game. RBI for Colmenter. Well, they got him on, they got him over, and they got him in. A walk, a sacrifice, a stolen base, and a ground ball leads to a Diamondback run. Now a 2-run deficit as Gerardo Parra steps in.
All started with that great at bat by A.J. Pollock to get the inning underway, fouling off all those pitches, eventually taking the walk.
Pollock's double with one out in the second was the last Diamondback hit. So they get a run without the benefit of a base hit in this inning. 0-1 to Parra. Parra has hit in all 4 games on the road trip, make it 5 now with a single in the first. Had multi-hit games Sunday in San Diego and again last night here in Milwaukee. Just foul between Dave McKay and Lyle Overbin. Oh, 0-2. Grounded to Segura at short. Diamondbacks get a run. Home half of the fifth coming up. They trail it 5-3. Who could forget Randy Johnson's perfect game against the Atlanta Braves? Sunday, May 18th is the 10-year anniversary. Don't forget, it's also a chance to participate in the all-you-can-eat section. Start at $34. You'll get a club-level seat, full menu of hot dogs, popcorn, Pepsi, and more. Visit dbacks.com for details or call 602-514-8400. The all-you-can-eat seats, a great view and great food. All the traditional ballpark fare. That is over the glove of Aaron Hill, and Squiller Jeanette leads off the Brewer fifth with a single. He's 2 for 3. That's a pretty good combination. You get to go to the Randy Johnson perfect game. You get to watch the ceremony for the big unit and do it in all-you-can-eat seats. Only at Chase Field. Prices start at $34. And don't forget, first 20,000 fans in attendance at the ball game Sunday, May 18th. Get the Randy Johnson perfect game anniversary commemorative T-shirt. That's courtesy of Pepsi. Jonathan Lucroy has walked and popped out 0 for 1. That one is in the glove of Aaron Hill, who snares it and saves it from going into right. Takes a base hit away from Lucroy. That's the first out. This guy's one of the more underrated defensive second basemen in baseball. Makes a lot of great plays.
Needed every bit of the glove that time. Got that one right up in the tip of the webbing. Slicing away from him a little bit. Able to get it, hang on to it, and quickly check the runner at first to see if he could double him off.
Josh Colemanter had retired 5 straight and 10 of 11, but 2 hard hit balls against him, and to open the fifth, 1 for a base hit, 1 for an out. And it brings up Aramis Ramirez, who is twice flying out to right. Well, he is just swinging at the first pitch every time, and it's a big reason why he is in a horrific slump. Ramirez now 3 hits in his last 45 at bats, and he's given the ABs away right now. He just can't wait to get it over with. 3 for 45. Lyle Overbay is 2 for 2. Pair of singles. He's got an RBI. He scored a run.
Runner on first base and 2 outs. There's been 3 pitches thrown in this inning.
Efficiency. While Overbay, originally an 18th round draft pick by the D-backs, hit .271 over parts of 3 seasons with the Diamondbacks before he was traded here to Milwaukee in what Bob Brenly likes to call the Nucci Varner deal. And now he is back with the Brewers after spending the last year with the Yankees. Richie Sexson, I should say, was also involved in that trade, I believe.
Player to be named later.
Player to be named, considerations, and so forth. 1-1. And after the trade, Overbay really responded with Milwaukee, hit 53 doubles. And had 301 that season. That was 2004. And eventually, of course, did come back to the D-backs with that 2011 team. Had a good year with the Yankees last year at the age of 36, hit .240 and 14 homers.
Actually played some outfield for the Yankees last year. 4 games in right field.
It's funny, he actually started last spring with the Red Sox. He was signed as a free agent, released by Boston, and signed with the Yankees the same day he was released. They jumped on him, and it was a good move for Brian Cashman. Overbay played 142 games, as Mark Teixeira was out the entire season.
To pay our proper respects to everybody else involved in that trade.
The Varner deal?
Yeah. Craig Counsell, Chad Moeller, Junior Spivey, Chris Capuano, and Jorge De La Rosa for Richie Sexson, Shane Nance, and Nucci Varner.
Do we have some career numbers on Nucci? Is our highly unreliable staff member in the booth?
I'll wake him up.
She'd like to provide some context.
It's one of those deals where it seemed like a good idea at the time. Didn't work out quite the way we hoped.
Overbay played at Nevada Reno. D-backs got him in the 18th round in '99. 2-1 is well hit to center. Ender Inciarte has room. And Comenter strands the leadoff single. We are through 5. Diamondbacks trail at 5-3. Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Cox Communications. Bundle and save with Cox. Beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Kind of a Chicago feel to it, right on the lake, of course. You've got the rivers streaming through the downtown area. A lot to do in Milwaukee. If it ever warms up.
Yeah.
When summer start?
There's 2 seasons, 4th of July and winter.
And they are ready for it here in America's Dairyland. By the way, just to follow up, Nucci Varner, out of that baseball powerhouse St. Catherine College in Kentucky, played 8 years in the minor leagues and was a career .299 hitter. Never did make the big leagues.
831 minor league games for Nucci Varner, career .299 hitter, as you mentioned. Retired in 2008.
Chris Owings 0 for 2. He has struck out twice. I wonder how one acquires the nickname Nucci.
Once again, I am stumped.
I'm sure, and for good reason.
At least it's a nickname. I assume it's a nickname. You know, nowadays you just put a Y at the end of it.
No, it's definitely a like a hockey thing.
No, you know, Paul Goldschmidt. What's his nickname? Goldie.
Goldie.
Penny. For Cliff Pennington. Or initials. CO.
Well, it was like that. It's like that in hockey. I mean, some of those great Boston Bruins teams of the 70s. You had Doki, Cheesy, Haji, Schmatzy. All the guys in the organization. Nucci Varner, Gary Lee Varner, by the way. 10th round pick out of St. Catherine College. Chris Owings hammers that to left. That ball is gone. A home run. Chris Owings, the solo shot, his first of the year, and the Diamondbacks keep chipping away here. It's a 5-4 ball game. That was smoked.
Tomahawks this high fastball. Boy, that's up above the belt, just below the letters, right down the middle of the plate. He was all over that one.
How about CO, his first career major league homer? And now suddenly the Diamondbacks are within one as Paul Goldschmidt steps up. Goldie, a 2-run shot back in the first. First major league homer for Chris Owings. Gene Segura. Tip of the cap, wag of the finger. He can play some shortstop.
Oh, man. Reached behind his body to field that smash off the bat of Paul Goldschmidt. Gets quickly to his feet. Accurate throw. Nicely done.
One out for Miguel Montero. Miggy 0 for 2. And the Brewers playing a Miguel Montero shift. We got Ramirez, the only defender on the infield on the right-hand side. Scooter Gennett in the Aaron Hill spot, shallow right field, and Segura, the shortstop, on the first base side of second.
You know, if you were looking at Miggy's spray charts from last season or possibly even the year before, I would say this alignment is probably appropriate. But the way he's been swinging the bat this year, he's been hitting the ball the opposite field. I don't know so much that I would put this exaggerated shift on this year. Didn't need any infielders for that at bat.
One out walk brings up Aaron Hill. That is the second walk issued by Marco Estrada. Rick Kranich, the pitching coach, on the phone in the Brewer dugout.
Some stirring down in that left center field bullpen behind the fence. He's starting to move around. Jacket's starting to come off.
Marco Estrada right now at 94 pitches. He has gone over 100 in a ball game 3 times this year. His high for the season is 107. That was 2 starts ago when it went over the Cubs here at Miller Park. Strike 1 to Aaron Hill, who was 0 for 2. Tyler Thornburg, the right-hander. That is out of play. Last 12 games for Aaron Hill. He's got 12 RBIs and is hitting better than 400 and slugging over 600. And 2 weeks ago, this is a guy that was hitting 209 for the year, but he has raised his batting average by 65 points since then and has cut way down on the strikeouts. And he's behind here 0-2.
I believe he's just keeping more hittable pitches in play. Early in the season, it seemed like Aaron was hitting a lot of hard foul balls down that third baseline. He's always done that throughout his career. He wants to pull the ball to left field, but more recently he's kept a lot more of those balls in fair territory.
Reached base at all 5 plate appearances last night. 4 singles and a walk. He drove in 2 runs. Montero at first after a 1-out walk, a run in on the Owings homer. This is hit sky high behind the second base bag. Gene Segura. 2 down. And Estrada about to throw pitch number 100 to Martin Prado. Martinez twice grounded out to Segura at short. Yes, he went. Mary Vanover, the crew chief down there at first, 0-1. Diamondbacks got 2 in the top of the first on the Paul Goldschmidt 2-run homer after a pickoff play at first base on Gerardo Parra, who was thrown out, was overturned when Kirk Gibson challenged the call. So it made it a 2-run homer. Brewers answered with 5 in the home half. And the Diamondbacks keep chipping away. 1 in the 5th without the benefit of the base hit, and now 1 in the 6th on the Owings homer.
Chasing a high fastball there. Checked his swing on the first delivery, which technically is swinging at the first pitch, which he's done 3 times in this series after doing it only 3 times all year before this series.
He is scuffling, and I think that's a telltale sign. Bounced up the middle. Segura behind the bag. Well, Gene Segura having a highlight half inning, but the Diamondbacks able to get another run on the board. Chris Owings' first big league homer has made it a 1-run ball game.
the game all the time. Sometimes it's series to series, sometimes it's game to game. For Chris Owings, it was at bat to at bat. His first 2 times up, he swung at high fastballs, came up empty. He was determined not to miss it in his 3rd at bat, and that's our Chaz Roberts. Cool play of the game. Nice adjustment by Chris Owings to get to that high fastball and pound it out of here for his first home run.
A line drive hitter, and he's really racking up the extra base hits, hitting it to the gaps and down the lines like he did last year when he was so good for AAA Reno. And now he's got his first big league homer, and suddenly the Diamondbacks are within 1. After that 5-run Milwaukee first, and tip of the cap to Josh Colmenter, who's done a terrific job of keeping his team in the ball game. He has given up just 2 base hits since that first inning, both singles. And he'll work to Chris Davis to lead off the Milwaukee 6th. Davis, Segura, Schaefer 6, 7, and 8. He's ahead 0-2. And Colmenter, despite that rocky first, still doing pretty well in terms of the pitch count here at 81. He has retired 12 of 14 since that 5-run Milwaukee first. They got 4 hits, a walk, and a key error. That was on the low throw by Chris Owings at short, but CO just made up for that with his first big league homer. 31 pitch first, a 5-run Milwaukee inning. But look at Colmenter since. He's been better and better as the game's gone on. A ball and 2 strikes to Chris Davis. Up the middle, and Aaron Hill smothers that one and throws him out. More great defense from Aaron Hill at second. Brewers have had Segura at short. Diamondbacks have answered with Aaron Hill at second base.
Falling out to his right. Really sold out on that one, and he gets Davis by a wide margin at first base. Chris Davis runs pretty good. Josh Colmenter appreciates the effort by Aaron Hill.
Takes a base hit away. 1 out for Gene Segura. Segura 1 for 2, an RBI single. He scored a run in that Milwaukee first. And Segura had a pair of hits last night, including a long home run, his 2nd of the year. That came batting 2nd in the order. He has been dropped back down to 7th tonight, which is something Ron Renicky has been doing more often than not lately. Batting Segura somewhere in the lower 3rd. He's got it up to 252, but he had 294 last year and went to the All-Star game. So he's had a slow start. About 50 points of batting average below his pace from last year. And last year, his first full season as the Brewers shortstop, he led Milwaukee in batting average, hits, and stolen bases. He swiped 44. So he can really do it all. He can hit, he can run, and as we saw on the top of the 6th, he can play some defense. Still got that Band-Aid on his face when he was hit in the face with a bat by Ryan Braun. Right to Goldie. 2 down.
Right into Ryan Braun in the first base dugout before the ball game. He says he thinks he'll be ready to go next week. He's shooting for Monday, maybe a little bit overly optimistic, but been taking some batting practice in the cage.
He's been on the 15-day DL with a strained right rib cage muscle, and he is eligible to come off the DL on May the 12th. So he's got about a week to go, give or take. Logan Schaefer. They actually moved Braun to the DL to activate Schaefer, who just came back from a hamstring strain. And he's out there in right field tonight. A 2-run double in the first. We saw Caleb Gindel for the Brewers out there last night. For Milwaukee should Schaefer reach, and Ricky Weeks, who's been essentially relegated to pinch hit duty, is on deck. Strike two. Well, that first inning was just a dumpster fire for Josh Collmenter. Not all of it his fault by any means, but he has really done an outstanding job of just kind of brushing it off and moving forward. Only 2 hits since that 5-run first. He's retired the last 5 he's faced, and he's a strike away from getting out of the 6th. And that's got to be difficult when absolutely nothing goes your way in the very first inning for the starting pitcher. A single, a walk. There were 2 outs when it went single, error, single, double. And quickly it had gone from 2-0 to 5-2. But Josh has really settled in ever since. That one is just by a diving Aaron Hill for a base hit. Schaefer 2 for 3. We'll see Ricky Weeks.
Schaefer picking on a low pitch, driving it past Aaron Hill, which is not easy to do. That one sneaks through into right for a 2-out base hit for the Brewers. Mike Harkey's going to make his way out to the mound to talk it over with Josh and Miguel Montero, make sure they know exactly how they want to pitch Ricky Weeks. I think the big difference from the first inning and since for Josh Collmenter, the first inning he was throwing strikes, but they were in the middle of the pizza. He was throwing hittable strikes. Since then, he's scooted that ball out on the corners. He's elevated that fastball. He's thrown some breaking pitches for strikes. Much better quality strikes.
Oliver Perez had been throwing in the Diamondback bullpen. Now it's Evan Marshall, just called up today from AAA Reno. And that was, Bob, one of the things we talked about at the beginning of the ball game that Josh said the key for him was to get the Brewers to swing at more pitcher pitches than at hitter pitches. And now with 2 outs and Schaefer on first, it's Weeks. 1 for 9 career against Josh Collmenter. Weeks hitting for the pitchers. Marco Estrada's night will end right here.
I would expect to see some high fastballs in this sequence from Josh Collmenter. For me, Ricky Weeks is a really good low ball hitter. When he's been a good hitter, it's been usually on low fastballs.
Down and in, misses, 1-0. Ricky Weeks, .212 on the year and struggling to get at bats. He has started only 6 games all season. And Scooter Gennett has taken over as the Brewers' everyday second baseman. This is in just about the same spot. It's 2-0.
Almost identical pitches there. Trying to get Weeks to chase something down and in off the plate.
All right, so you've realized, at least you've established he's not going to bite on that pitch. Then what do you do? Elevate again?
I would think so. I think that's one of Josh's strengths when he throws that fastball across the top of the strike zone or even a little bit higher. Get some swings and misses up there. Get some lazy fly balls. I mean, you'd like the inning to end right here. Got to work your way back into the count because you don't want to face Gomez with 2 runners on base.
They go away this time, and Collmenter gets the strike call. 2-1. This is a pitcher pitch.
Wow. A few inches off the outside corner. That'll work.
He went away again. He elevated a bit, and Weeks fouled it off, and now Collmenter's a strike away.
Weeks actually fell down after that swing, off balance, leaning out over the plate. His momentum caused him to go all the way to the ground right here. Back foot slides out, front foot slips.
That's kind of the way things have been going for Ricky Weeks the last few years. Last season he hit only .209. 350 at bats last year. He had only 24 RBIs. 2-2. Coming in here. Base hit. Pollock cuts it off. Schaefer stops at second. And this will bring Gomez to the plate. Well, he went away, tried to come back in. And we'll see if Evan Marshall is about to make his major league debut. Kirk Gibson approaching plate umpire Toby Basner. Looks like we'll have a double switch, as Eric Chavez will come and he'll take over at third for Martin Prado, who made the last out in the top of the sixth. And here comes Evan Marshall, just called up from AAA Reno, about to make his major league debut. Back after this. Sunnyvale, California, went to high school in Cupertino and played collegiately at Kansas State. D-backs got him in the 4th round of the 2011 draft. 14 appearances with AAA Reno this year. He gave up just 1 run, 16 2/3, 10 hits allowed, 19 strikeouts. He opened the season with Reno by pitching 13 straight scoreless innings without allowing a run. That streak just ended on Saturday when he allowed 1 run in his most recent outing. That was at Salt Lake. 6'2", 220, 24 years old.
Yeah, welcome to the big leagues, Evan Marshall. Comes into a 1-run ball game with a couple of runners on base. Facing Carlos Gomez, who's had a rough night tonight. Struck out his first 2 at-bats of the ball game and then hit an easy grounder to third back in that 4th inning. Numbers may not appear like it, but Josh Colmenter pitched much better than that. That shaky first inning, didn't get much help from his defense, but really settled in after that and gave the D-backs the innings they needed.
Well, Evan Marshall is here to get a big out in his first major league appearance. He's got Logan Schaefer at second, Ricky Weeks at first, 2 outs in a 1-run ball game. New third baseman is Eric Chavez. He takes over for Martin Prado after the double switch. So here's Gomez, who has struck out twice and grounded out 0 for 3. He is going to swing like that, and that's it.
Hopefully he'll do that 2 more times. Marshall can get out of this jam. That'll work.
Bounce to shortstop, Chris Owings. Low throw, Goldie has it, and Evan Marshall gets the out he needed in his first major league appearance, and he keeps it a 1-run ball game. 7th inning coming up from Milwaukee. Diamondbacks trail at 5-4. Fox Sports Arizona Fan Express, brought to you by Cox Communications and Fry's Food Stores, is ready to take you to a D-backs game. Just stop by this month's participating Fry's Food Store in Cottonwood, and you can enter to win 2 seats on the Fan Express bus. You get round-trip transportation to the D-backs game on June the 8th. For more information, visit foxsportsarizona.com. Big out right there from Evan Marshall here in Milwaukee in his major league debut. He got the big ground ball from Gomez with 2 on and 2 out to get the Diamondbacks out of a jam and keep it a 1-run game. And fist pounds all around in the D-back dugout for Marshall with K-State Wildcat. New pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers from Charleston Southern. It's Big Tyler Thornburg. This is a guy that they like a lot. 16 appearances this year, a 2.20 ERA.
18 games last year with the Brewers. 7 of those starts he went 3-1 with an ERA just over 2. All 7 of his starts were quality starts.
That one well upstairs to A.J. Pollock, who has doubled, walked, stolen a base, and scored a run. Playing left field tonight for the first time this year. As a starter anyway. With Inciarte in center. A.J. back from the groin injury. But looks good running the bases. Stole 3rd for his first steal this season. Hits that one down the line in left, but pulls it foul. Pollock, Inciarte, and Chavez, bottom 3rd of the Diamondback order here in the 7th against Tyler Thornburg. Little flare off the fist into short right. Schaefer tracks it down. He can run good speed out there. That's the first out. Well, fans, it's that time of the ball game. As promised earlier, it's the AT&T fan photo of the game using the hashtag AZFanPhoto, and the Brenly Committee has chosen Larry. You're number 1, Larry.
That hat's got some character right there. That hat's been worn.
It looks like it fell down Camelback. Thanks to Larry and all of you who have been tweeting us your fan photos using the hashtag AZFanPhoto. Keep them in. Keep them coming in for your chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T. Ender Inciarte has grounded out. Sacrifice bunt. Segura has it. And quickly 2 down. So 2 outs for Thornburg, and now he'll work to the veteran Eric Chavez. He took over at third for Martin Prado after the double switch. Eric at .212 on the year, but in 5 games as a starter, he's hit .273 with a home run. Only 2 RBI shy of 900 for the career. And this is 17th season in the big leagues. Base hit for Shabby. Diamondbacks have a 2-out base runner in the 7th. Brings up Gerardo Parra, the birthday boy. Parra 27 years old today, 1 for 3. He singled and scored in the first. Did you get G anything for his birthday? Are we supposed to do that?
I think that would be a bad precedent to start.
Start handing out stuff all the time. It's a big roster.
Yeah.
Just wasn't sure about the protocol as Lucroy goes out to talk to Thornburg. We talked about the defense that Gene Segura had played at shortstop for Milwaukee in that 6th inning. Really interesting. I mean, it's funny, his defense has always been exceptional, but it's his build. He's built low to the ground. He's got those big, thick legs, almost like a hockey player. And definitely not the shortstop prototype. But as you see there, exceptional range and a great throwing arm.
Watching Gene Segura and some of the other great defenders around Major League Baseball, you can see why it's so tough to hit in the big leagues. You got a guy out there on the mound that's getting paid a lot of money to try to get you out. You got defenders streaking all over the field the way Segura has been tonight. Tough to find a hit.
Easy play for Chris Davis in left, and they strand Chavez at first. Stretch time at Miller Park. It's a 1-run ball game.
I was actually taking a nap, and my phone was ringing on the floor, and then the hotel phone started ringing, and it was Nev, and he was trying to get me to come down to the lobby, and I was supposed to have a dentist appointment, and I thought maybe I slept through it or something, so I was nervous, and so I came down there thinking he was gonna, chew me out for disrespecting somebody, but he lightened the mood about getting the call to the big leagues, and so I was real happy and just kind of overwhelmed, and I called my wife, called my parents, and then I was just a mess.
Well, one of the more interesting stories of getting called up, Evan Marshall getting the news from Phil Nevin, originally the phone ringing during a nap, but Evan did call his wife and parents, and they are here in attendance tonight seeing his major league debut, retiring Carlos Gomez last inning, guys.
It's so great when the folks and the friends and the relatives and everybody has time to react, because you got to go, man. When they scramble the jets, you never know. You could fly to Cincinnati, L.A., who knows where you're going. And when you can coordinate it and get everybody here to see this, it really is something special.
Really special for the parents. We saw Evan come out of that third base dugout during batting practice today, and his parents were down past the end of the third base dugout, gave him a big hug. What a moment.
Scooter Gennett leads off the 7th. He's 2 for 3, a pair of singles. He scored a run in that 5-run Brewer first. And Evan Marshall is in a role in which he's certainly familiar. He worked mostly in relief in college at Kansas State. He's a Wildcat. Did begin his sophomore season as a starter before he was moved back to the bullpen. And that was the role in which he saw the most action for the Wildcats.
We haven't seen much of Evan Marshall, obviously, but it looks like he's got a good power sinker. Gennett just beat that ball into the ground. He was able to get Gomez to do the same to end that 6th inning with a couple of runners on base. Heavy sinking fastball.
Well, Evan was in his 2nd season at the AAA level in the Diamondbacks system. Last year, as a 23-year-old, he pitched the whole year in Reno, 54 appearances, all in relief. It's the strike call there. It's 2-2. Last year, a 4.34 ERA. And as often happens the first time somebody gets to Reno or the Pacific Coast League, he got hit a little bit. 58 innings, 75 hits allowed. The concern were the command issues. He walked 30 in 58 innings. That averages out to more than 4.5 walks per 9. But that number really dropped this year, fewer than 3 walks per 9 this season. And gave up just the 1 run all year to start his year with the Aces before the call from Phil Nevin. Get down here, you're going to the big leagues. And here he is.
I wonder how his tooth is. He missed his dentist appointment.
Well, hopefully it doesn't flare up here. That's a good point. 2-2.
Well, and obviously when there's a roster move at the major league level, there's a trickle-down effect, and it goes all the way down to Visalia in A-ball. Aaron Blair called up to Visalia from South Bend. Jimmy Sherfy called up to Mobile from Visalia, and Matt Stites makes the move from AA to AAA, Mobile to Reno.
Jimmy Sherfy had been putting on a show for the Visalia Rawhide, striking out guys in bunches as the closer. And now he's up in AA Mobile. Former Oregon Duck. 2-2 to Gennett. He's making Evan Marshall work for his 2nd big league out. And Blair's the kid they got in the 1st round last year with a 2nd pick out of Marshall. He put up some pretty impressive numbers. And Matt Stites, of course, one of the players the Diamondbacks got in the Ian Kennedy deal last year from San Diego. So a lot of promising relief help coming in the Diamondback system. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up. Another 2-2. First big league strikeout for Evan Marshall.
Gennett is a guy that generally makes contact, rarely strikes out.
That pitch break down and away. Impressive. Jonathan Lucroy. Ball 1. Lucroy walked and scored in the 1st. He is 0 for 2.
Did hit the ball hard his last time up in the 5th inning, a line drive that Aaron Hill made a nice play on out there at 2nd base. Looks like he throws both the four-seamer and the sinker. We've seen one breaking ball slider look like he tried to overthrow it a little bit, but good movement on all his pitches. Good velocity on that four-seamer.
That slider has been a big strikeout pitch for him in the minor leagues. Ooh, that thing just dropped down there. 1-2. Nice movement on that pitch. Take a look at this thing.
If I'm not mistaken, that's his changeup at 86.
That'll work. How about the arm angle on that, too? A ball and 2 strikes. Same pitch, missed that time. It's 2-2. Look at your Chevron upcoming pitching matchup. A reminder, no TV tomorrow. Day game, so it's up to the governor and Tom Candiotti. They'll have the call for you. Radio only, Bronson Arroyo and Willie Peralta. In the 3rd game of this series, you can also watch it if you have the MLB.TV subscription, which we highly recommend and endorse. Arroyo and Peralta, radio only, 98.7 FM. Not pictured here, Leo Gilmartin. Off day on Thursday, then we'll be back with you on the TV side Friday for the first of 3 against the White Sox in Chicago. Another strikeout for Evan Marshall. 2 up, 2 strikeouts here in the Milwaukee 7th. And the Marshall clan. Applause, applause. They look nervous, don't they?
It's always more nerve-wracking for the fans in the stands, the family in the stands, because they realize there's nothing more you can do than try to be supportive, clap your hands, cheer.
Team in the back door that time. It just got it to sneak over the plate for a strike. And now here's Aramis Ramirez, who will always swing at the first pitch. Yep. It never fails when you're in a hurry to give it bat after at bat away.
If you're Gerardo Parra, you should be alert out there in right field. He's flied out that direction 3 times in the game.
0 for 3 and 3 for his last 45. Poised and ready. I mean, this is he up there with a clock on him? Ramirez? 3 for 45 will send you to some dark places, but this is a very good major league hitter with more than 2,000 career hits, 358 home runs. He's 4 RBI shy of 1,300 for his career, but he looks like he can't wait to leave. Well, Tapper back to the mound. Marshall has plenty of time. And he works a 1, 2, 3, 7th. Marshall family and friends on their feet in the major league debut. 4 up and 4 down for the rookie. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Coming up, Chris Owings, who homered in his last at bat.
5-4 as we head to the top half of the 8th inning. Chris Owings will lead it off. In case you're just joining us, the night didn't start out great for Chris Owings. Made a defensive error in that first inning. His first at bat of the ball game, he got caught chasing a high fastball. His second at bat in the ball game, he got caught chasing a high fastball, but he's a quick learner. Tried to go back to that high fastball one more time, and Chris Owings tomahawked it out of here to left field
for his first big league homer. And he made it a one-run ball game. That's where we stand as we open the 8th inning. Diamondbacks trail the Brewers 5-4, and a new pitcher for Milwaukee. It's the right-hander Brandon Kinsler. He was recently on the 15-day DL with a strained right rotator cuff, but he's back and pitching well. His 10th appearance of the year, a 1.93 ERA.
Just a fastball slider guy. Did a nice job out of the bullpen for the Brewers last year. Second on the team in appearances. Pitched 71 ball games last year. Went 3-3 with a 2.69.
They'll work to Owings, Goldie, and Montero. 2, 3, and 4 in the Arizona 8th. Chris Owings 1 for 3, a home run. He has struck out twice.
Need a runner.
That's a fair ball. Little dribbler to third for Ramirez. Owings makes it close, but that's the first out. Brings up Paul Goldschmidt, who homered in the first. It's Goldie's 6th of the year. This was after the pickoff play at first on Gerardo Parra was overturned. So that turned this into a 2-run shot. And it was 2-0 D-backs.
And that Goldie home run came on a changeup. Out over the plate and up. Went out there, got around that ball, and hooked a line drive to left field.
So Goldie is now hit in 8 straight. Got 3 home runs during his 8-game hitting streak, but he's behind here 0-2.
That pitch was intended to push Goldie off the plate a little bit on the 0-2 count. He takes a hack at it, fouls it off.
Got that helmet ear going again. Reaches down and shoots that down the right field line, but it's out of play. I think any future Paul Goldschmidt bobbleheads will have to have the helmet ear. So hopefully the marketing department is listening, because that really has become one of his trademarks. There it is. That looks like it hurts. Shoots that into right. That's going to drop in there, and Goldie has his second hit. It rolls into the corner, and Goldschmidt rolls into second. Tying run in scoring position for the Diamondbacks on Paul Goldschmidt's 13th double.
He's had some bigger doubles this year, some more well-hit doubles, but this is a big one right here with 1 out in the inning. Gets himself into scoring position. Logan Schaefer, we've talked about his speed tonight. He also has a very strong, accurate throwing arm, but Goldie never slowed down. Very aggressive slide into second. Has himself in scoring position for Miguel Montero.
Well, Goldie, a pair of singles last night in this ballpark. He always hits well here. Tonight, a homer and a double. And he's the tying run at second base with 1 out for Miguel Montero. Miggy walked his last time up. He's 0 for 2. He hits that into the gap. That'll get down. Here comes Goldie. He will score, and the Diamondbacks have tied it up. RBI 19 for Miguel Montero, and it's 5-5.
We talked about it since Miguel Montero was inserted into that cleanup spot in the lineup. 18 games. He's 20 for 53. Driven in 14 runs. He's got 3 homers, and on-base percentage well over .430. Just has settled in that 4th spot in the lineup.
And he's on first for Aaron Hill, who takes ball 1. Diamondbacks led 2-0 after a half inning on the Goldie 2-run homer. Milwaukee responded with 5 in the home half of the first, but the Diamondbacks have added 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, and now 1 here in the 8th. Aaron Hill, this ball is well struck high and deep to left, and it is gone, a home run. Aaron Hill, his 3rd of the year, and the Diamondbacks take the lead 7-5. Well, it was the Brewers, BB, who homered 3 times here last night. Tonight for the Diamondbacks, it's Goldschmidt, Owings, and now Hill.
Aaron has been as hot as any hitter in baseball recently. You get a good view of that one, clearing the fence out in the Brewers bullpen easily. And you know what that means, partner. Tacos.
Cody Ross hitting for the pitcher. First pitch swinging. Ramirez spins and throws. And that's it. And the Diamondbacks, they've got tacos. And guess what? They've also put Evan Marshall in line to get the win in his major league debut. Welcome to the big leagues. 2 down now for A.J. Pollock.
It doesn't always work this way, but another byproduct of the offensive outburst here in the 8th inning. It gets Josh Comenter off the hook for a loss in this ball game. He did have a shaky first inning, but really settled in, pitched well after that.
Didn't have the greatest defense behind him either. Gave up a walk, 3 singles, and a double. All smiles, those two. They are attached at the hip from the first day before spring training, in fact. First 2 guys out there every morning hitting, Aaron Hill and Paul Goldschmidt. In the cage at Salt River. They swing alike, they think alike. It's all working right now. AJ in his first game back to the starting lineup has been on base twice, a double and a walk. He's stolen a base, but he strikes out to end the 8th. Goldie, a little bloop double. Miggy follows that with an RBI single, and Aaron Hill adds 2 more with his 3rd homer, and it's 7-5 Diamondbacks.
have Evan Marshall in line for his first Major League win after his Major League debut. Jody Jackson here in the stands at Miller Park. Plenty of D-backs fans here today, and I have found the Marshalls. We have Evan's wife, Allie, his mom, Janet, and dad, Steve. I have to ask you guys, I know you just flew in today.
It was great. Good flights, but we're just so excited here. We could have flown here on our own without the airplanes, I think.
So excited that you got the call. Janet, tell me how your emotions were when you found out that Evan was going to be here tonight.
He called me at my office, and I work for a law firm, and we had clients, and everyone knew what was going on because I was screaming so loud and then crying.
And then, Allie, what was it like when he was pitching out there just now?
Oh my gosh, it's just surreal. It's a dream come true watching him out there, and he just did so well. And so many emotions right now are going through. You just want to cry, you want to laugh, and you're watching his lifelong dream. It's just exciting. So.
Fantastic job. Allie, where did you come from today?
I came from Reno, Nevada. That's where he was in AAA. So.
And Janet and Steve, where did you guys fly from?
We flew from San Jose through Denver, through Chicago to here. So it's been a long day of flying.
Oh my, I'm glad you got the word early. What time did you leave?
We left at 7 this morning, but I've been up since 3:30, so.
Exciting. And Steve, Janet was saying that Evan started at a young age. Tell me what it's like to watch him out here in a Major League Baseball stadium pitching after all the years that he has been loving the game of baseball.
When I think back to starting in playing catch at 2 and him actually dragging us to the ballpark to practice and play Little League and play all of his different levels of baseball, and then doing so well at all of them, and for me it's the ultimate. I mean, shoot me now.
This is just the beginning too. So Janet, finally, you hopefully get some sleep tonight, but you're going to be here for tomorrow's game as well.
We will be here tomorrow. We're at the hotel where the team is at tonight, so we'll get to spend some time with them tonight and a little bit tomorrow. And it's just been great.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your time with me tonight, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see you here following the team too.
Thanks to the Marshalls. Guys, we'll send it back.
Well, there'll be no ghosts in the hotel room for the Marshalls at the fabulous Pafister. Chris Owings throws out Chris Davis, 2 up and 2 down for Brad Ziegler here in the 8th.
As tired as they may be, I got a feeling they're not going to go to sleep right away tonight. No. There's going to be a lot of hugs, a lot of recollections of days growing up. What a great moment for the Marshall family.
And now not only has he made his Major League debut, he's in line for the win, and he's got to feel good about his chances with Brad Ziegler out there. 2 up, 2 down, Gene Segura. Well, you can just see all the emotions running through the Marshall family, just the looks on their faces. Really remarkable. And a great job to get him. How about that flight? San Jose, where'd they go? Denver,
Chicago, and then Milwaukee. Wow. All worth it.
Yep.
Every bit of it.
Fans at that one, it's 0-2. Well, the funny thing about this ball game is the Brewers were up 5-2. And Milwaukee this year, when they score at least 4 runs in a ball game, is 18-0. So the Diamondbacks have a chance to snap that streak and put themselves in position to win another series here tomorrow. They're winning their 3-game stop at Petco Park. San Diego took 2 of 3 from the Padres. And they'll have Bronson Arroyo on the mound. Two balls and 2 strikes. Got him. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Brad Ziegler, and he sends us to the 9th. CenturyLink, your link. So what's next? Due up for the D-backs. We'll see Eric Chavez in the 9th. fans, are you a super fan? Well, the time has come to vote. Log on to foxsportsarizona.com/superfan to vote for the true super fan of Arizona sports. The winner will receive a sports lover's dream prize package, but we can't do it without your vote. So log on to foxsportsarizona.com. New pitcher in the 9th inning for Milwaukee from Taiwan, Wei-Chung Wong. He was a Rule 5 guy acquired from Pittsburgh last December. He just turned 22 at 21 earlier this year, became the youngest player from Taiwan ever to play in the major leagues.
And he's already had his Tommy John surgery back, missed the entire 2012 season. One of 3 lefties that Ron Renicky has available out of that bullpen.
According to the Elias Sports Bureau, Wei-Chung Wong, the 11th Taiwanese player to play in the major leagues and the first for the Brewers. He's on for the 5th time this year, and he'll open up the 9th against Ender Inciarte. Inciarte, Chavez, and Parra for the D-backs. Diamondbacks led it 2-0 after a half inning. They trailed 5-2 after 1. But then 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, and 3 in the 8th have made it 7-5 and put Evan Marshall in line for his first major league win in his big league debut.
Fastball, changeup, curveball combination from Wong.
Strike one. A ball and a strike to Ender Inciarte. It's lifted in the air to Davis and left. One away. Brings up Eric Chavez, who took over at 3rd for Martin Prado after the double switch in the 6th. The closer is warming. It's Addison Reed. Strike one. Addison told me he used to come and pitch here sometimes when he was with the White Sox. And a bunch of them snuck up there to Bernie's slide up in the dugout. Tried to go down the slide, but it was all locked up. No sliding. Eric Chavez has a base hit. He's 2 for 2. And the Diamondbacks have a 1-out base runner for Gerardo Parra. D-backs fans, they always go to these warm weather cities, or I should say cold weather cities, and see warm weather gear. The hooded sweatshirts and the jackets and the whole thing.
Eric Chavez with a couple of base hits off the bench tonight, came in as part of a double switch when Evan Marshall came into the ball game. I wonder if those 2 base hits here late in the game will buy him a start tomorrow against Willie Peralta.
The way Martin Prado's been struggling, it seems like Gibby's MO to give him a day, perhaps.
Especially with the off day on Thursday. It works out to be 2 off days in a row. Really clear your mind, rest your body, be ready to go Friday. Well, Prado does have decent numbers and very few at bats. 3 for 6 lifetime against Willie Peralta.
3-0 to Gerardo Parra. Chris Owings, who hit his first major league home run back in the 6th, is on deck. All 4. 4-pitch walk to Parra, 2 on and 1 out for the D-backs.
Tries to drive a pitching coach crazy. You bring in a lefty that obviously has a good breaking ball in Wong.
Rick Kranitz in the Brewer dugout.
Gives up a base hit to left-hand hitting Eric Chavez, and then walks Gerardo Parra, the left-handed hitter, to get Chris Owings up there with a couple men on base.
Ron Renicky didn't look exactly thrilled either. Owings 1 for 4. The homer is first. Like he broke his bat. Long tracks that one down, and that's the second out. Aaron Hill hit a home run. Miguel Montero was on first after his RBI single, and the fired up Miggy on Phantom Cam. Scooter Gennett looks less than thrilled in the background.
That was full speed.
Just took his time around the bases. Paul Goldschmidt, 2-run homer in the first. He doubled and scored in the 8th. Strike one.
Jonathan Lucroy back into the umpire that time. Right off the bird cage.
Toby Basner there to catch him. Goldie drives that one into right. They will stop Chavez at third. Hold on. Parra drifts a little too far off the bag at second, but he's back in time. And the Diamondbacks will have the bases loaded. Len Sherlock initially was waving Chavez in, then put on the brakes at third. Looked like he was getting ready to wind up there.
The ball was hit so hard and got out to Logan Schaefer in right field so quickly. I think initially off the bat, Scherls thought they'd have a chance to send Chavez, but when you saw how quickly Logan Schaefer got to this ball and unleashed his throw, he threw up a late stop sign. Chavez had to throw up the stop sign for Parra, who had rounded way around second base.
Yeah, Parra was almost halfway to the third base bag, so they're loaded with 2 outs for Montero, who's down 0-1. A 3-hit night for Goldie. Miggy 1 for 3. He has walked. He's got an RBI single. He scored a run. Chance to open it up right here. One and one. Ender Inciarte opened up the 9th inning with a fly ball to left. Chavez singled. He's on third. Parra walked. He's on second. Chris Owings popped up. The Goldie single to right puts him on first. They're loaded with 2 outs. The 1-1. Diamondbacks live post-game show follows the ball game right here on Fox Sports Arizona. Reaction from Miller Park. Diamondbacks with a chance to even the series here at a game apiece. Chases the high fastball and leaves him loaded. Addison Reed will come in, bottom 9 in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, Aaron Hill, his third home run of the year, a 2-run shot in the 8th. Helped make it a 7-5 Diamondback lead, and Aaron Hill is our APS Energy All-Star. Since 2012 versus Milwaukee, he's got 12 RBIs, hitting .410 against the Brew Crew. And now the closer is on in the 9th. It's 7-5. Diamondbacks led it 2-0. They trailed 5-2. Now they lead at 7-5 and on to close for the 17th time this year. Is the big right-hander. It's Addison Reed.
Well, hopefully his familiarity with this ballpark as a member of the White Sox will serve him well here tonight, closing this one out.
He'll work to Logan Schaefer to open the 9th. Pitcher spot is due up after that. Caleb Gindel, another left-hand hitter, is in the on-deck circle. So it's Schaefer and Reed to open the 9th. 7 runs, 10 hits for the D-backs, 5 runs, 8 hits for the Brewers, who are undefeated this year, 18-0 when they score at least 4 runs. That streak is on the line right here. Schaefer 2 for 3, a 2-run double in the first. He singled his last time up. There's the strike, 0-1. A ball and 2 strikes. Addison Reed trying to save it for Evan Marshall, who's got a chance to get the win in his major league debut. Just called up from AAA Reno, retired all 4 he faced, including 2 by strikeout, and looked very good. Got him.
Addison Reed gets Logan Schaefer to chase a fastball way up and out of the zone. A little extra giddy up that time.
So Reed strikes out the left-hand hitting Schaefer. Now he'll work to another lefty, Caleb Gindel, who started in right field last night. Gindel was 0 for 4. Gindel was called up from AAA Nashville last week. He's got 1 hit in 13 at bats this year. Here's the punch out on Schaefer.
Swing right there. Miggy catching that high outside fastball.
The problem with Addison Reed has been the command. He has not been able to command that fastball within the strike zone, and when he's given up the big hits, mostly in non-save situations, it's because he's left the fastball right out belt high over the middle of the plate. And it seems like Bobby's throwing his slider less often too.
Yeah, I think that's something that Mike Harkey and Kirk Gibson talked to him about. They'd like to see him use that slider a little more often, especially against right-handed hitters. Sometimes he gets a little too reliant on that cut fastball. And as you said, he's made some mistakes with it in the middle of the plate.
They tried to get Gindel to chase, but But he laid off, so it's even 2-2. Perfect strike 3. Caught the corner, down and away. Pair of strikeouts, and the Diamondbacks are 1 out away.
Miggy wanted it in. He throws it all the way across the plate, actually just a tad off of that outside corner, but they get the call from Toby Basner behind the plate. 2 down here in the ninth.
And we talked about it at the very top of the broadcast. It was very important, Bob, you mentioned it, to contain Carlos Gomez and make sure that leadoff man leads off with an out. And they have done that so far. He's 0 for 4. Mostly because of swings like that, he has struck out twice. Addison Reed a strike away. Popped him up, Montero. This looks like it will stay in play. And the Diamondbacks get the win. They take it 7-5 to even this series at a game apiece. And Evan Marshall is the winner. He is just the 3rd Diamondback reliever ever to get the victory in his first career game. One of the others was Josh Colmenter, who started, and this is a no decision he's glad to take. Marshall gets the win, Reed the save, and the Diamondbacks have even the series at a game apiece.
What a good perseverance by the Diamondbacks to stay with it after that rocky first inning. Gave up a 5 spot, made a couple of defensive miscues, but hung in there, battled back against the best team in baseball.